And Apple having a pretty tough day after that Barclays downgrade. Some people attributed it to profit taking. Of course, Apple up about 50% last year. Others to longer-term concerns about their hardware business. What camp do you fall in?
I think there's definitely profit taking here. You definitely can't take that out of the picture. But I think the Barclays note pointed at something that a lot of people are worried about, and that's that iPhone sales growth is going to slow down. And for Apple, they're the iPhone company. Everything is all in on the iPhone. And if you see slowness there, you have to ask if they have enough to make up for it. And to me, I think that's the bigger issue. You see that they're talking about slowness in 15 and already 16. And if you don't have the iPhone carrying you in your Apple, then what are you doing? And I think that's the real question for the company right now.
So are you worried about a slowdown in growth for the iPhone because of just it plateauing? I mean, so many people have iPhones, or is China one of the reasons that you're concerned?
I would say the biggest issue here is the upgrade cycle, right? People have the iPhone 15, it looks like the 14, and that will probably look like the 16. So you're getting to a point where people are upgrading just much more slowly. And when you're in that situation, you just can't afford to have any other potential issues along the way. You don't want to have China as a potential risk factor. And unfortunately for Apple, it's this perfect storm where you're having the China issue hit and the upgrade cycle story start to come to fruition. And so I would say the upgrade cycle is the real problem. Okay. But now any other blip causes serious issues, and that's what we're seeing with the company.
Yeah, by the way, Apple gets about 19% of all overall revenue from China, so a big issue if there are issues in China. The other thing I want to talk to you about is valuation. So Apple's trading at about 29 times forward earnings compared to its historical average of about 18 times. Is Apple simply getting just too expensive considering some of the headwinds that you just mentioned, a slowdown in iPhone growth and also China?
I think it probably is too expensive. And I think the reason why it got so expensive is because the company was selling this big services story to Wall Street, saying, you got to think of us as a technology company, not necessarily just a hardware company, and give us those software multiples. Well, it was never a software company. It always had that hardware component to it. And those tend to have much lower multiples than what we see with Apple today. So, yeah, I do think it's pretty expensive right now.
All right. So, Alex, I know you don't give price targets, but give us a sense. If you're an average investor, would you stick with Apple throughout 2024? Is now the time to kind of take those profits you got in 2023 and maybe hop off, at least until the valuation gets to a lower level?
I wouldn't panic right now. I really wouldn't panic around Apple. The company, if you look at Tim Cook's track record, has always figured out a way to get outside of these tough moments and push forward and figure it out. And I think that's probably what's going to happen with the company this year. They're going to figure it out. They're going to find some ways to get those numbers to where they need to be. And that's been the Apple story under Cook, and I don't expect it to change. Once it does, we'll have to look at the company a lot differently. But I see no reason to doubt it at this moment.